Series called The More You Care, NBC News will be taking a closer look at the spirit of giving in America. So we start tonight with a question. Why is it that some people, maybe you, are always willing to help and some others aren't? The answer might not be what you think. Here's Dennis Murphy.
We can do it because we are a nation of doers, and this is a job that must be done now.
For years, we've heard the message. Pitch in, lend a helping hand. From wartime efforts.
Hey, soldier, here come Ma and Pa and the whole family.
Costs a whole dollar to join.
To helping by reaching into our wallets.
And that's an awful lot of money. But won't you please try hard to find that much?
Do you have change for a quarter?
It would sure do me good. Do you good, let me help.
And every day, in little ways, we're confronted with situations where we can choose to help. But why is it that some of us walk by,
Kind of locked out, and
while others stop to give assistance? Is it something about our environment, or maybe something more basic, something in our genes that drives us to be volunteers, helpers?
Do you want to read?
It's a question that social scientists have been trying to answer, and one we'll take a look at with our hidden camera and watch when people choose to help and when they don't.
Some of us are more inclined to helping by the virtue of the kind of person we are.
Arizona State University psychology professor Robert Cialdini has spent years studying what makes us help.
People who are naturally happier, for example, tend to be more helpful. People who are naturally more religious tend to be more helpful.
But, argues Cialdini, it's not just personality that determines helpfulness. It's often the situation, how we feel about the person needing help, and how we feel about ourselves.
Oh, isn't that neat? Wow.
To learn more about why and when we help, we had a Dateline staffer with our cameras out of sight appear to be in need of help. In a parking lot, in a shopping mall, and on the side of the road.
You know I need someone help.
It's a scene that can be all too familiar and unpleasant. Your car breaks down, you know nothing about engines, have no phone, and there you wait, and wait.
Won't you please, please help me?
Sometimes as many as 300 cars whizzed by our seemingly stranded motorist. There were, however, those who did stop. But what made them stop? Might the helpers share something in common?
It just happened to my car.
Oh, it just happened to your car?
Yeah.
Did somebody stop and help you?
Well, actually not. That's why I stopped.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you.
This man not only stops, but stops on the opposite side of the road and crosses traffic to offer his phone.
You got a phone number you want to call somebody? I know how it is to break down, you know, because usually when I break down, if I don't have a cell phone, I'm stuck there.
I have a wife and a daughter, and I would hope that somebody would stop if they were stuck to help them out.
Why not? I wish somebody would stop and help me sometimes.
We showed what we taped to Professor Cialdini.
There was a unifying concept in there, and that is when we see a connection between ourselves and someone else, when we see ourselves as similar to or in the same situation as, and when we see that connection, we're able to help to a greater extent because we can empathize, we can put ourselves in that person's position.
But sometimes we help not because we identify with a person in need, but because of how it makes us feel.
Thank you, sir.
Somebody needed help, so I helped her. I don't think about it.
Does it make you feel good later?
It made me feel good while I was doing it, and I'm sure it will later as well.
This concept of helping others to make ourselves feel better was one we heard repeatedly from those who stopped to help pick up the dropped items.
It's our nature, it's human nature to help people. First of all, it makes them feel good about themselves.
We want to think well of ourselves. And so when we see ourselves being helpful, that's one way to think of ourselves as good people.
So we help people not because it's the right thing to do necessarily to help another human being. We do it because it makes us feel better about ourselves.
That's one of the reasons we help.
I'd like to think of myself as a good Samaritan.
There's actually something called the helper's high. People who have had a chance to be helpful in especially effective ways feel high, they feel exaltive.
And almost get like what, an endorphin high.
Yeah. And feel confirmed in the sense of themselves as being a helpful individual.
And what about those who don't help in a given situation?
Did you see the lady spill her bag?
Yes, I did.
You didn't stop to help her, Keith?
No, I didn't.
Did you? It registered in your mind that she needed a hand?
Yes, it did.
Why'd you keep on going?
because I'm on a very limited time right now on my job. We just come over to get some coffee and we're heading back.
Time was the same reason given to us by this woman who didn't help.
I saw it, but I'm thinking I don't have time to stop, but I would have, I would have stopped. I ordinarily would stop, but this time it was due to not enough time, and I'm in a hurry.
What is she telling herself?
She needed to recognize that she is the kind of person who normally helps. This was an unusual circumstance. The timing was wrong.
But lots of people do take the time to volunteer their aid, as we found out when we pretended to lock keys in a car
Or you call 911?
and learned just how far some people would go to help. This woman offers not 1 quarter, but 2 to make a phone call. And then she tries to bring someone else over to help.
Do you know how to do this?
And this woman, who at first isn't sure what to do, comes back and offers our Confederate a lift home to get some spare keys.
Oh, that's okay, thank you.
But perhaps the most helpful individual we met was this man. He first tries to get in through the window, then the door. Then his pager goes off, but he remains undaunted, telling his friend to go inside and get some tools.
I don't have a problem helping somebody because someday I may need help. Today is my wedding anniversary. I'm supposed to pick up my wife to take her to a restaurant now. And she just beat me to let me know that she's waiting.
So you were willing to do all of that? Sure. Even though you're late and on your way to your wedding anniversary dinner?
Most definitely.
Now here's an extraordinary young man. He's on his way to a wedding anniversary and he's still going to try and help her. That seems like a very selfless guy.
I think this guy would have felt very badly about himself if he wouldn't have helped, and so wanted to feel good.
So helping was the best thing for him to do.
That's right. Yeah.
Until you will, I'll steal my heart.
And then sometimes we decide to help when we see others getting involved first, setting an example. We tested the theory with some street musicians in a New York subway. A Dateliner put $1 in a musician's bag once a minute for 15 minutes. In that time, 8 other people gave money. But when we stopped giving for the next 15 minutes, only 1 person dropped some money in.
Here's an example of what you do first before people get to the helping opportunity that determines whether they'll help or not.
The good example of others, a helping high, concern for the person we're helping. Sometimes it's all those things and more that make you a helper. Sometimes you help because you want to restore harmony in a situation that's gone wrong. Fixing the vibes is something Cialdini has tested in his own experiments. He and his researchers create different situations to see whether it affects helping. Here, a chair is rigged so that when it's pulled out, some slides, believed to be part of an important project, spill out. They try this 3 different ways. In one variation, the test subject unwittingly knocks those slides over.
Uh-oh. I think that's the data from Brad's master's thesis. Ooh.
In one, the researcher knocks the slides over as she pulls out the chair.
Right here. Uh-oh.
And in the last variation, nothing is knocked over. Then the test subjects are asked would they be willing to help make some phone calls.
Call students on the phone and administer attendance.
And which group do they find again and again is most likely to help?
I work full-time too, so I don't have a lot of time to...
Okay.
Not those where nothing fell. Most of the time, this group doesn't offer to help.
Uh-oh.
But those who either think that they caused the slides to fall, or even if they just saw the slides fall when someone else pulled out the chair, usually they say yes to helping.
I'll do 5, I guess.
What we find is that even if the subject did not do the harm, the person who simply witnessed harm is more willing to help anybody. There's something about a tendency, a desire to want to restore the good feeling after harm has been done, do some good for somebody.
And maybe doing good is something some of us are just born with. Dr. Carolyn Zahn-Waxler at the National Institute of Mental Health has been studying young children for evidence of helping behavior. Adults pretended to need help to see whether children would actually come to their aid. Watch as this 7-year-old helps his mother to a chair. Study found that regardless of whether the child knew the adult or not, many children did offer assistance.
Thanks for picking those things up for me.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
So maybe helping is in our genes, which might explain why we're a nation so committed to aiding others, why some 93 million of us volunteer, and why we as individuals give over $116 billion every year to charities.
We as a species have evolved a system so that when someone else hurts, we hurt. And by that system, we seek to relieve the hurt of others so that we relieve our own hurt. Isn't that a marvelous system?
One final note, in an NBC News Newsweek poll, 94% of those asked that it was either very or somewhat important to volunteer for community service.
This is Dateline Monday for April 21st with